Hi friends, today is a very special episode because we're talking about my favorite.
What does it mean? What does Cadia stand to
best
mean?
guard regiment, the CADIAN Shock Troopers.
What is
Cadians are
this?
the poster boys of the Imperial Guard, and for good reason. Everyone thinks they're just boring vanilla lamos that represent the Guard, but they're actually super cool. They're the poster boys for a reason, and god damn it, vanilla's a good flavor. Also,
I'm not gonna agree with him anymore. Oh, I suddenly understand. Oh, people that are like vanilla stuff. You know my rant about vanilla. I'm sorry, you have all these flavors in the world and you choose vanilla. Vanilla of all things. You go into a restaurant, you're the type of person that orders the same thing every single time. You never try anything else. Oh man, I am not going to like these, am I? The most basic of the basics. Oh man.
be prepared. This is my favorite faction. So, if you ever went to a Krispy Kreme and watched the donut making process,
Yes.
well, you know that funky little step after the fryer? Yeah, that's exactly what this video is going to be for roughly 15 minutes. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The CADIAN Shock Troopers are the elite guardsmen who originated from the lost world of Cadia. They are one of
Yeah. Wait, hang on. What happened to Cadia? I thought this was going to tell me what happened to Cadia. Is that a separate video? Why does everyone talk about Cadia, R.I.P.?
if not the best warriors in the entire Imperium. The world of Cadia was not always lost, and before it fell,
Because they
it
lost
was the mightiest fortress
Cadia?
world after Holy Terra itself. And before it was the mightiest fortress world after Holy Terra itself, it was just a middling fortress world, presumably also less mighty than Holy Terra. And before it was a middling fortress world, presumably also less mighty than Holy Terra, it was a filthy, degenerate world full of filthy, degenerate chaos worship.
Isn't that every single
But the chaos
world?
cultists fortunately went extinct with the help of some cyclonic torpedoes. And that cleared the way for the Imperials to establish Cadia into a legendary
Just some
fortress
pest
world
control.
we knew and loved prior to its tragic fall. Cadia and the
Everyone
CADIAN
cries
Shock
about
Troopers'
this.
claim to fame was guarding the entrance to literal space hell for damn near 10,000 years. Since they were tasked with defending the only good passage out of the Eye of Terror, the Cadians developed a strong warrior culture and became some of the greatest guardsmen ever.
Wait, I'm trying to remember what the Eye of Terror was. It was like this weird space where like demons live? Is that what it was? It was like they went over it for like 2 minutes. So like I have a vague recollection. I don't quite remember other than it is bad. Because it's called the Eye of Terror.
Part of Cadian
It's a direct portal to the warp. Okay.
culture and society was militarized. Their government was based on military merit, their cities were labyrinthine fortresses, and their child soldiers were even younger than the average Imperial child soldier. Woohoo! You see, many guardsmen begin their training in their teens. In contrast, pretty much the instant they're able to, Cadian children are taught how to fight. They're commonly said to be able to strip and shoot lasguns before they could even write. That means we got little Cadian Tim over here casually shooting assault rifles at age 5.
How do you not,
This also means that the age that most
kill
other
your
guardsmen
own-
would start their training, Cadians have over a decade of experience. Then,
How do you not
after
accidentally
their
shoot your
extensive
own
childhood training,
people? Like,
every teenager is sent to serve
you
in
know,
the White
kids.
Shields platoon for further training.
They get slightly
Presumably,
mad, they're gonna
called
shoot
the
their
White
dads
Shields
or
because
something.
it's a platoon of pubescent teenagers.
ah.
Here, they do live fire practice, field training exercises, and have core Cadian values instilled in them. Cadian culture highly
Wait, there's good family values? Okay, so now you don't shoot your dad. We teach them some filial piety so they don't shoot their dads.
emphasizes marksmanship, discipline, teamwork, and of course the other Imperial values like self-sacrifice, resilience, extreme xenophobia, etc., etc.
Extreme
Additionally,
xenophobia?
somewhat uniquely, they're given a basic education on chaos and the perils of the warp. This gives them a rather unique resistance to chaos taint and a greater resolve in battle. And their training is some of the highest quality training in the entire Imperium. So every Cadian Shock Trooper is roughly at the level of a Special Forces operative from our world, if not better. Speaking of better, the White Shields who show the most promise are sent to the even top-of-the-line training in order to become the coolest dudes in the galaxy, the Kasrkin.
Oh yeah, his favorite thing he mentioned.
More on them later. So, after their time in the White Shields, a Cadian is trained to be a proper shock trooper and then sent to various battlefields to fight for the glory of the Imperium. Furthermore, Cadian officers are all promising white shields or veterans who rose to the ranks through battlefield feats. They find the idea of an officer learning stuff in school, like a nerd, rather than in
Ew.
battle, to not only be dumb, but also silly.
What?
Speaking of officers, you know what officers tend to do? They dispense tactics like some kind of tactic dispensing machine of some sort.
What? Why does every single... Why is every single faction like, thinking, strategy? If we throw enough guys at them, surely it'll work. You're humans! You're humans!
Cadians, they have some of the best tactical minds in all of the Guard. Legendary commanders like the Ultra Mega Chad, Lord Castellan, Ursarkar Creed, his daughter Ursula Creed, and
Whoa.
the indomitable Knight Commander Pask all hail from the world of Cadia.
Nah, Castellan
But
Creed.
beyond that, what tactics do these tactical geniuses tactic with? Well, the CADIAN Shock Troopers are one of the few regiments trusted to field combined arms regiments. You see, after the heresy, the armies of the Imperium were highly segmented so that no one regiment would have the means to rebel and cause major damage like Mr. Heresy did. This is why the Space Marine legions were broken into smaller chapters. This also means that usually Guard regiments are highly specialized. For example, artillery, tanks, and infantry would all be separated in their own regiments and made to work with the others.
Isn't that how
due to the
normal
importance
armies
of their
work?
job and their legendary track record, the Cadians are allowed to field combined arms regiments that are more readily able to respond to threats.
Oh.
A typical
So there's just like an elite troop that like takes a couple of the best people of each so that you don't just have no tanks when you need tanks, okay?
Canadian regiment will have a corps of shock troopers supported by tank, artillery, and other special companies. This makes for an extremely efficient fighting force with unparalleled cohesion and flexibility since every battlefield role is under the same regimental command. Castellan Creed's personal regiment, the Cadian 8th, is the epitome of Cadian combined arms tactics, and they continue to kick ass after nearly being wiped out in the 13th Black Crusade and losing Lord Castellan Creed. Then, on a smaller scale, Cadian tactics revolve around coherent shock trooper squads, flanking enemy positions, holding objectives, and basically whatever else is needed. The Cadians' focus on squad
XCOM?
cohesion and a tactical approach means that they're generally more efficient man for man. These
XCOM?
squad tactics also mean that Cadians have an abnormally high survival rate, and
So what I'm understanding is that everybody else is playing like, I don't know. Everyone else is playing like a numbers game. And the cool thing about these guys is they actually use their brains and they like think about tactics a little bit more.
these squad tactics also mean that Cadians have an abnormally high survival rate and have the highest amount of veterans of all the Guard regiments. So, knowing 40k, that's probably like 10 Guardsmen. Just kidding, I low-key hate the Guardsmen all being useless meatbags who last 5 seconds and then die memes. Some can be useless meatbags, but not all of them, please. Cadians also specialize in urban warfare and shock tactics. Big shocker there. But their biggest strength is that they're the jack-of-all-trades regiment, able to do pretty much anything well. So I guess Cadians specialize in adaptability and, well, being the best. Which I suppose specializing in being generalized isn't really a specialization.
Right.
Or it might be. I don't know. Feel free to call me a dumb fool and tell me why Krieger specializing in banging shovels is just so much better in the comments below. But, of course,
I don't know. Both of them sound
Cadians
overrated.
are guardsmen, and they're willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the Imperium.
Like
In the
everybody.
face of hopeless odds, Cadians stand defiant and will fight till the very end.
Like
Now,
everybody.
They literally lived at the gate of space hell for 10 millennia. The planet broke before the Guard did is a literally true statement. But on the other end of the cannon fodder spectrum, let's talk about the Cadian Special Unit. That's right, we're back to the coolest dudes ever, the Kasrkin.
Okay.
Woo! The Kasrkin are the best troopers of the best regiment of the best faction. I made a whole video about Imperial Stormtroopers, but
So he
the
could talk
basics
about
are that
this.
The Kasrkin are the elites of the Cadian and are either talented and promising white shields or veteran shock troopers who receive extra training and better equipment to kick extra ass. Kasrkin originated as the key protectors of Cadian fortress cities called Khazars, but now they fight across the galaxy as the best soldiers a regular human can possibly be. They've got literally
Unlike the
peak
Krieg?
strength, peak speed, peak reflexes, and peak
Unlike the
combat
Krieg?
intellect. They're only second to Space Marines, but they still get Space Marine jobs done, and they efficiently kill Marines.
Oh?
Speaking of killing, they typically carry
Why do they kill
hell guns or
Marines?
hotshot lasguns if you're lame, which are basically upcharged lasguns that can punch through most armor like it's
Laser gun, but
some
more
easily
strong.
melted thing. I don't know. I probably could have figured out a butter analogy, but it's okay. They also commonly take special weapons like plasma, melta, grenade launchers, volley guns, and more depending on the mission. And
Chaos
just like
Marines?
their mother regiment,
Oh, the
Kasrkin
evil
are
ones.
super versatile and basically do whatever task is needed from them. They can provide heavy firepower on the front lines, serve as rapid assault drop troopers, or carry out spec op missions in elite kill teams. Kasrkin are respected across the galaxy, and they're even requested by inquisitors, rogue traders, imperial lords, and other notable figures to serve as their bodyguards or elite strike teams.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is these are the Kriegs if the Kriegs were less, like, suicidal? Like, the Kriegs are, like, aren't they just also elitely trained in the same way? But people don't like the Krieg, because the Krieg just want to throw themselves at things. Whereas, like, these people can be reasoned with and seem to have strong morals and discipline, so we hire them instead. I haven't seen that many differences apart from the lack of trauma.
And these notable figures need to be deemed worthy of the Kasrkin working for them. Yeah, they don't need a test if the Kasrkin are qualified to work for them. They need to be deemed worthy of the Kasrkin service.
Oh.
Badass. And fun cherry on top.
So they're like cooler mercs. They're like, you need to hire me because I'm so good at my job. You better be a VIP for real, for real. The Krieg are like elite World War I soldiers. The Kasrkin are like SEAL Team 6. But like, when it comes down to what they're capable of, aren't they capable of the same thing? No?
Deemed worthy of the Kasrkin service. Badass. And fun cherry on top is that this little lore fact made the ridiculous difficulty buying Kasrkin the year of release lore accurate. Perhaps you simply weren't worthy of having a Kasrkin kill team in your service, and that's why GW wouldn't let you spend your 60 buckaroos on one. On top of the Kasrkin, Cadians also have a special pattern of Sentinel that has extra armor, and their shock troops favor grenade launchers and autocannons for their versatility. But finally, the big question. Why do I think that the Cadians are the best? Well, because they literally are. Jokes aside, though, Cadians are probably the single best regiment across the board due to the simple fact that they're just so dang versatile. You can drop them on literally any battlefield and they'll get the job done. Yeah, Cadia are badass and probably have the strongest guard characters around.
Rambo.
Put them in the flat hellhole that is the American Midwest, and I don't think their Rambo guerrilla antics will work all that well. Valhallans, they're super cool, pun intended, but put them in the blazing desert and they'll make like a hiker visiting Vegas. That's to say they'll have a heat stroke and demonstrate why Death Valley is called Death Valley. Or drop a Krieger at a therapist office.
Oh, here it is.
And, I don't know, they probably self-implode.
See, that's what I'm saying! That the only reason they're better than Krieg is because they don't have trauma! Well, okay, like their aesthetics and equipment are slightly different. Why can't you just give them the same equipment? Huh?
The Cadians' versatility is invaluable to an empire as large as the Imperium. They have about 1 million worlds, one bad day away from being eaten by aliens, indoctrinated by Satan, or even just discovering the far-flung concept of worker rights. So,
Worker
having a
rights?
regiment that can effectively fight on
Unions.
any world
Let's
with
use it.
relatively short
Unionize.
notice is a huge and necessary asset.
Well, are you telling me that they're just dressed for the proper situation? The only other argument he had was like, oh my god, they're overdressed for the desert. Yeah, give them the proper equipment before you go into a desert, and then they can like fight like normal people. Or like, oh my gosh, the Rambo people can't do anything in the plains. Oh, okay, sorry. We should have given them like clothing and like equipment.
That's why across the galaxy, many regiments treat the Cadians as an aspirational regiment and try to model their doctrines
It's
and
'cause they have
equipment
a
after the shock
budget?
troops. Not because they're the absolute best at everything, but because they're good enough at anything. It's good to have specialists, but you need the generalists to keep things together. But, my Kriegers are cooler than the Cadians because they can fight in trudging wars of attrition lasting decades. Cool flex, bro, but my Cadians would simply win the war in a timely manner.
He's like, nah, I'd win actually. Okay, I don't think the Krieg are better or anything. I'm just understanding the argument for the Krieg supporters. Like, what is the big difference here? I don't know. One is just grim darker than the other is all I can see, and the other has more budget. They have more money. They have like somebody in command that has some form of like common sense and tactics, and they can strategize in keeping them alive longer.
But they're willing to die in the millions to accomplish anything. Newsflash, dummy. You gotta be alive to fight for the Emperor. But my unyielding resolve! Uh-huh. Cadians literally shot at spaceships with lasguns while their planet crumbled at their feet.
Okay, but Krieg also like nuked their own planet. Wow. I don't know. Both seem kind of overrated, though.
Shovels! And that, my friends, is what we like to call a straw man. Very effective when I'm the one making the video and no one can tell me I'm wrong. But finally, let's address the War Master.
I'm the straw man. I'm the one making the arguments. Oh no, what have I done? I'm not even on the side of the Krieg. I don't particularly like the Imperium.
Chaos in the room. Yes, Cadia did eventually fall in the 13th Black Crusade. Ha! How could they be the best if they'd lost? Loser regiment.
Whoa. Okay, you like lost Krieg too, kind of. You lost the spirit of your country. Sorry, the Krieg planet, which is called Krieg. No? Right?
Wrong. Hypothetically, let's consider a pair of jeans. They're purchased by the average Redditor, and for 10,000 years, they're the best pants ever. They're stylish,
10,000
they're
years?
comfortable, and best of all, they don't burst under the, immense aura of the Redditor. But then, one day, the Redditor launches a steamy Blackstone load out of his Eye of Terror, and then the jeans finally rip. Does that make them bad jeans? No, I don't think so. Any force in the galaxy
What
would
is
have eventually
this?
faltered after 10,000 years of relentless assaults from literal hell. The fact that the Cadians stood strong for that long is insanely impressive. In the current time, Cadia was lost, but Cadia stands since the survivors of Cadia and Cadians who were deployed elsewhere keep the culture alive and have re-established new colonies to train more shock troops. They continue to
imagine
be
a
one of the
VTuber
greatest,
company
if
lasting
not
that
the
long.
greatest regiments in the entire Imperium. Also, anyone who says that Cadia doesn't stand because the planet fell is literally missing the point of the quote.
Cadia is the Cadia in
stands
our
because,
hearts, right?
Just like their other iconic quote says, the people of Cadia literally outlasted their planet and are keeping the culture and legend of
It's not the planet, it's the people that lives on in our hearts, just like me. Right? Still kawaii.
the regiment alive. The Cadians took a massive blow with the loss of their planet, but their sheer indomitable human spirit allowed them to live on and continue to serve the Imperium. But with that out of the way, here's a couple of fun Cadian facts. Cadians have purple eyes due to their former proximity to the Eye of Terror. There's a Cadian sergeant named Lucas Bastone who has perfect memory and tattooed the name of every guardsman who ever died under his command underneath his armor. And finally, Cadians also use gallows humor to cope with how sad their lives are. So, Gen Z rejoice,
Relatable.
Cadians are truly the regiment of the people. But yeah, that's my overview of the best regiment of all time. Feel free to tell me how stupid I am, how boring the Cadians are, and why your favorite regiment is totally objectively better than my favorite regiment.
I may
But
have done that
just
already.
Remember, everyone always forgets the full quote. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but that's often better than a master of one. Cadians #1, baby. Let's go. Woo!
Okay, see, like, I can understand liking Jack of all trades in this kind of world where you are put in many different situations, so you might as well use a faction that's versatile, right? Because it's hard to use different specialists that don't get along in this universe. But it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone should be a specialist. I mean, when, that specialists aren't good or bad. They're still necessary in my opinion. No. Hasn't really told me how well they fare against everyone. Just that he says they're the best and they're super strong because they fight against demons. I haven't seen any historical evidence of this. I mean, it's just because they're mentally stable, sort of. No, they all have a little trauma. Everyone in Warhammer has some trauma. If not, they don't have enough brain cells to have trauma. But it's just because these are the most human. So you relate to them. And you, root for them. They're, some sort of underdogs. That's why people like them. Blah, 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 they lost the planet. Okay, there's, every race has lost the planet. Or they lost, some of their people to genocide. They lost, I don't know. They lost their history or worship. Or they're in constant threat of something. It's just that these guys, seem hopeful, I guess? Are they kind of optimistic, in a way? I don't know. He presented them in such a positive manner. So that has colored my interpretation of them, right? I don't know. Maybe, some other more objective overview would tell me differently? He just misremembered the quote, often better than a master of none. I mean, it's the same spirit of it. I think I understand his interpretation. Yeah, I think masters of none. Oh, when he said master of one. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's better than a master of none.